welcome to the Let's Talk session at KWS for October, which is all about registered student organizations. And we're going to learn a lot about crowdfunding with a platform called MomentUM. So we're going to jump right into it because there's quite a bit to cover. So housekeeping, I always have housekeeping rules at the beginning of this. So we're going to ask that everyone mute their microphone. I usually have it muted upon entry. You are welcome to use the chat box. I do want you to know that the chat box does get saved. I save it onto my computer, and you can ask comments and questions on the chat box. There will be times where you can unmute your microphone and ask questions. And I do want you to know that the dean is here today. He's with us. He's just going to be chatting with me privately to share whatever he wants because he's having some technical issues with his mic and camera at home today. So we're going to share the talking time permitted with other people as well. And we're going to try to listen with respect without interrupting. And sometimes we have to put stuff in a parking lot, and that's okay. The parking lot is just an area where we'll remember to come back and revisit whatever issues or topics or ideas that we can't cover during the session. So I usually go back and I'll connect with the student directly, or I'll connect with one of my colleagues about one of the things that was brought up today. So here we go. The registered student organizations at the Kemmons Wilson School are truly unique. If you don't know, the short phrase that we use on campus is RSO for our registered student organizations, and we have 4 of them connected specifically with the Kemmons Wilson School. We have Eta Sigma Delta, we have the American Chef Federation chapter, we have Sport Marketing Association, as well as HSMAI, which is a mouthful, I have to say, Dr. Silks. I don't know how you say this all the time, but it's Hospitality Sales Management Association International, and you're going to learn a lot more about these groups today. So for all students, they should know that any RSO can be found on Tiger Zone, and that's typically the way that they want all RSOs to manage themselves at U of M. And Tiger Zone has become especially useful during this remote time of work because RSOs can share files on that website. They can post their meeting dates. And so activity fluctuates depending on the time of year. We find that in the summer months, Tiger Zone isn't as active as during the fall and spring semesters. And that's for obvious reasons because it ties to our enrollment. I will say that Tiger Zone can be accessed by anyone with a UID and password. So for the professors and instructors that are on the call today, you too can access Tiger Zone and join any organization if you so choose, okay? So without any further ado, I'm gonna turn this over to Dr. Carol Silks, and she's the faculty advisor for HSMAI. So Dr. Silks, take it away.
Okay, all right, I see the slides.
You might have to unmute yourself. I didn't unmute you.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Somehow, was this on like an automatic forward? Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International is the group that I am the faculty mentor for. And we have an organization that partners with a senior chapter here in Memphis, but our affiliation is not only local, it is global, so that when you come on into our organization, you immediately have access to everything that the senior chapter has. Most importantly, is possibly the career paths as well as certification training. And also, if you decide to come with the organization, your student membership is portable. Once you are a student member, as long as you continue that, you can continue to get the student rate for up to 3 years post-graduation. And it resets again if you come to grad school. Our organization focuses on team building, career building, philanthropic activities. We typically raise money for the Child Advocacy Center, and we buy teddy bears. We also support our senior chapter in any fundraising that they do. In relation with our senior chapter, typically the senior chapter grants a scholarship to go to the national meeting once a year. This year, we were very fortunate to apply for Student Chapter of the Year and receive it. And yeah,
Clapping, Dr. Silks. That's amazing. You guys like won it like twice in the past 5 years, right?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Well, those are bragging rights.
It's bragging rights, but the thing is it's student driven, and it is what you get out of it, what you give into it, and hopefully our students want to achieve and exceed expectations and continue to do more of the same. We have fun.
Okay.
Oh, all right. So, and on this PowerPoint is the link to join. You check that there's a student membership, and you also check that you have an appeals code, and the appeals code is listed here on the PowerPoint slide. And you will automatically get registered as part of the University of Memphis Kemmons Wilson School chapter. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, so for those of you who needed to see her face, this is the fabulous Dr. Silks, and that's her contact information. I will be sharing this PowerPoint with all participants, so you'll have all the hyperlinks, and I'll email this to you after the call today. So next up, we have the Sport Marketing Association. So Brian Sweeney, it's all you now.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I'm here to talk a little bit about Sports Marketing Association. You can see the mission right there. It's basically about developing relationships between professional folks working in the industry, academics, and students who are interested in the world of sports marketing. So the Sports Marketing Association hosts networking events, other scholarly activities, and facilitates career development opportunities on campus and off. So these are just some of the benefits of joining. One of the benefits of joining any student organization is the opportunity to connect with other students who have similar professional interests or personal interests, and that is definitely the case with the Sports Marketing Association. You'll also learn more about the field that you potentially hope to work in, or a field that you're just interested in learning more about. You'll have the opportunity to develop relationships with employers in the sports marketing industry, and also just continue to foster that community around sports marketing at the University of Memphis.
Okay. So Brian, I did find some pictures that I just had to throw in there. So I just wanted to share some of the fun things that SMA has done in the past. So we had a great deck, I want to call it a deck party, but it was at a Tiger baseball game, and we were holding up all the Ks of the strikeouts at one event, so that was pretty cool. And I don't know if you see, but the gentleman who is in the right of this picture on the upper left-hand corner holding up one of the Ks, his name is Curtis Johnson, and he just had a really cool story covered in by a local news network. He's from Blytheville, and he actually got to work in the NBA bubble, which is pretty unique. So as you know, that for some of you who are interested in sports might know that the NBA chose to play in a really secured COVID to try to protect all the players and staff from the coronavirus. And so he was one of the staff members at the bubble, and he just returned back and shared a cool story with me. So it's promising, because when you look at the picture, in this picture particularly, I know that one of the students, he was working with the Memphis Grizzlies. Another student worked with Tiger Athletics. So a lot of our students really did get some hardcore sport experience. So Jordan Cobb here in the picture on the right, he's with the Memphis Grizzlies right now. And then Derek Holston in the lower left, you see him photographed literally at one of our Liberty Bowl football games. So he was there at the game, and I had to snap a picture of him that day. And then traditionally, the Sport Marketing Association, I don't know if that'll continue with you, Brian, but when I was the faculty advisor for it, we were doing the Bluff City Fire and Ice Polar Bear Plunge. And so that's always a unique Memphis tradition to jump into the Mississippi. Last year they did it at Tiger Lane. And so it's much cleaner, but it's a lot of fun, that event. And so, yes, Carol, I want to see Brian jump in too. That's all I'm saying. Because if I did it as a faculty advisor for this student group, I think Brian should have to take the plunge as well.
I'll go back to my childhood swim team days. Yeah, we'll go for it. Sounds good.
Okay. So next up, we're going to talk. That's Brian. Sorry, this is Brian's contact information. So Brian is a career specialist for the department as well as the School of the Arts, and that's his contact info. So again, you'll get this PowerPoint after this presentation. So next up, we're going to talk about the American Culinary Federation Greater Memphis Student Chapter. And this is a chapter that's now forming. I do see Chef Bill is on the call. So Chef Bill, did you want to talk about it, or did you want me to just go through the slides?
Sure, I'll be glad to talk about it. So I have to speak up a little loud because I'm at a football game, as you guys can see behind me. I'm just
okay.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The benefits of joining the ACF, the American Culinary Federation, is the premier culinary networking site. It's a premier culinary resource site. Not only do we have networking events, we have education, we have continuing education. It's good to be able to foster that sort of ethical dealings when dealing with culinary arts. We try and foster and prevent any unfair means from happening, any unnecessary risks or any unethical behavior by supporting each other in many of our successes and growths and things like that. So a lot of our information is given out freely. The National Culinary Review, which is posted monthly, offers you opportunities to do continuing education hours. There's competitions that are done. Currently with COVID, the way it is right now, we're not actually doing any competitions, but once we get started back, there's the National Restaurant Association show, which the ACF is always a huge part of in Chicago. ACF has local meetings. The next one's going to be in Nashville. It was originally slated for Nashville this year, but unfortunately that got canceled. So there's tons of things to do with that. If you like competitions, you can go to different places and do competitions. If you just want to watch it and see what happens. For the students as well, it gives you an opportunity to get into that world. Myself, I started out in it as a student member when I went to culinary school, and then 5 years later, carry the 2, divide by 7. It was about 8 years later that I ended up getting my certified executive chef because of that experience. So it does make a huge difference. Currently right now we're having online meetings. The student chapter, we were in the process of formulating that when COVID hit. So we had to take a little pause, a step back, and then we're starting that process up again. So it's going to take a little time. It does take a little time to formulate that through not only the university, but also through ACF. Mise en Place is the program that we have, and this is a partnership program with our industry professionals, and this helps us pay for the annual membership for our students. So the students get this membership free through donations from our corporate sponsors that are having an opportunity to interact with our students as well. So they can come in and talk about their program, and almost like a manager and training program in many ways. So this is one of the things that we promote. We want to get as many notations, as many opportunities to see things in front of the students as possible, because when they get out in the industry, they're going to be the ones that are going to be responsible for this thing. I'm ready to let someone else do it now. So you guys got to take that over.
Well, we have a student on the call, Chef Bill Kiera, that I really think would be interested in joining this group. So Kiera, I'm happy you're here and that you get to connect with Chef Bill today.
Hi, Kira.
Okay, so next up, this is Chef Bill's contact information. And Chef Bill doesn't brag, but I have no shame in bragging about my awesome colleagues. So he, in addition to being the Memphis chapter president for the local Memphis chapter of ACF, he did go to CIA, which is probably one of the top culinary schools in the country. And so getting access to Chef Bill and his network of folks as well is amazing. I am admitting other people into the room. It seems like some people keep getting bounced in and bounced out, so hopefully they'll be able to join us. So I will now talk about Eta Sigma Delta, which is an honor society for travel and tourism. So unfortunately, Tim Floor couldn't be with us today. He's actually picking up our little one right now, so someone had to do that. The eligibility requirements. So Eta Sigma Delta is a registered student organization, but it is an honor society. So you have to be invited to join Eta Sigma Delta. So if you're an undergraduate student who's a hospitality management or sport and leisure management major, you will get invited if you have 50% of your credit hours completed, a minimum of 3.0 GPA, and in the top 20% standing of the class. I think we have a few graduate students on this call too. So graduate students, you too can join Eta Sigma Delta if you have 50% of your credit hours completed, have a minimum of 3.5 GPA. So the requirement for graduate students is a little bit higher, and you're in the top 15% standing in your class. So there are values that they expect Eta Sigma Delta students to uphold. Those values include excellence, leadership, creativity, service, ethics, and diversity and inclusion. So typically what happens is Peggy, the academic advisor, and Tim pull a report. They see who meets the criteria, and then you're sent an invitation email for an induction ceremony, and that email will go out in January this year for you to get an induction to be inducted into Eta Sigma Delta. You do have to accept the invitation, right? So it's not automatic. So that was a thing last year where one student thought that just because they got the email, they were automatically in it, but you still have to complete an application and all of that stuff too. So it's not just because you have the GPA, just so that we're clear, there is an application involved. But the Kemmons Wilson School pays for the membership, so that's a perk for you all. They do have monthly meetings, their local networking opportunities, they do service projects. They also have access to the 90 other chapters, and there's going to be an annual conference. This year the conference is virtual, obviously because of coronavirus. And again, KWS covers your lifetime membership. So when you join, it's one fee and it covers your lifetime membership in Eta Sigma Delta. So these are some cool pictures of past events. This induction ceremony photo, you'll see that you get a cord. That yellow cord goes, graduation day, you wear that around your robe. This lower left-hand picture, that was one of the service projects at Ronald McDonald House. And then all students do get an Eta Sigma Delta pin, so that's great to wear when you're going to your networking events or wherever. People do recognize the logo, at least in the hospitality industry. So if you need to contact Tim, he's really proud of Eta Sigma Delta. He was inducted back in '97 at University of Delaware, and he now serves on the National Board of Governors for Eta Sigma Delta. So he's really proud of the work that this group does, and he's one of the major organizers of their national induction ceremony right now. So if you need to get in touch with Tim, that's his contact info there, all right? So now I'm turning it over to Jack. So Jack, just tell me when you want me to forward your slides. Jack Callahan is a graduate student and a proud KWS alum. He was a sport and leisure management student of ours, and now he's pursuing, wait, which degree are you going for, Jack?
Just the general MBA. Yeah.
All right, general MBA. So he is, and part of his work now at the U of M is he's an assistant for this program called MomentUM. So crowdfunding made easy. Here we go, Jack.
Alrighty. Well, most of you probably know me as a former student, and as Marta said, I'm still a student, but now at the graduate level. And I serve as the graduate assistant within the Office of Annual Giving here on campus. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about MomentUM, kind of familiarize you guys with it if you're not already familiar with it. So MomentUM is the University of Memphis's official online crowdfunding platform. Now, some of you might not know exactly what crowdfunding is, or you might just assume that it's the same thing as fundraising. It is in some degree, but crowdfunding is more of an online style, typically with peer-to-peer style of fundraising. So what you're going to see is more of you generating excitement within communities via social media or online through email, whatever, and kind of having other people do the solicitations for you by just continuing to spread the word. So as we've been talking about today, this is registered student organizations. This is what this is all about. But MomentUM serves much more than just RSOs. We also serve faculty and staff, departments as wholes, alumni, and really anybody who has ties to the U of M or is willing to raise money for a cause that ends up supporting the University of Memphis community in some form or fashion. Go ahead and move on. So why choose MomentUM? So we have lots of other platforms you guys might have heard about outside of the U of M, such as GoFundMe or maybe Kickstarter, similar crowdfunding like platforms. But honestly, if you are a part of the Memphis community, MomentUM is probably your safest and easiest bet to use. So not only is it easy to use for you all as project leaders, if you were to start a project on MomentUM, the platform is very easy to utilize. We utilize a partner that our office has in Ruffalo Noel Levitz, RNL for short. They support our phone-a-thon office that calls out to alumni to ask for donations. And they also provide us with a platform known as Scale Funder, which we run MomentUM on. So it's also easy for donors to make gifts through MomentUM, which is really a big appeal for a lot of people. It's very simple. You know, you just go to momentum.memphis.edu. You find your project. As you can see there, there's a snapshot of our homepage. You just click to support that project, and then you just fill out your basic information, your payment information, and boom, you're done. Nothing to hassle, nothing to hassle through in order to make a quick and easy donation. So donors have comfort in knowing where their money is going here as well, which is very important when you're soliciting people, whether if it's an RSO cause and you guys are trying to raise money for maybe an event that you're trying to attend, or maybe a competition that's held annually. Donors like to take comfort in knowing exactly where their money is going. And obviously, most of you who have donated to something before, you would like to know the same. And so it's very much a streamlined, refined process that we get to see the best results for most of our projects. And since the creation of MomentUM, roughly around 2016, it might have been slightly earlier, but we've generated over $370,000 in gifts since then. Probably a little bit, that number is probably a little bit lower. We might be a little bit closer to 400,000 by now since this was made closer to the start of the semester, but we can move on. All right, so now we're going to just take a look. You can click through to get the rest of the pictures up here on the slide, Marta, thank you. So this is just an example of some of the projects that we've hosted and kind of the range of different things that you can support through MomentUM. So as you can see, we have MPHC council plots, which if you guys have made recent trips to campus, hopefully safely, you can see that actually now those are actually coming to fruition in the Alumni Mall lawn outside of the UC. They raised money for those to be able to have their spots on campus, which is very important to the MPHC. Every year, the orientation guides go to a workshop called SHRO to train them I actually was a former attendee of that when I was an orientation guide, so they raise money for that and have been for at least the last 2 years. We also recently held the University of Memphis COVID-19 Student Emergency Fund on the platform, and that was very successful, as you can see, raising over $16,000. But we also do more, like I said, than just things based around registered student organizations or maybe just general funds. We can also do things more specific, such as raising money for scholarships, whether they're brand new scholarships or scholarships that just have trouble finding funding every year. As you can see, we did one for Lambeth recently. We've been doing a lot of work with the Lambeth campus recently with various funds that they have interest in. And really the sky's the limit with the MomentUM platform and what you want to raise money for. Okay, so now most of you might be asking, how do I get started with MomentUM? Or maybe why have I never been introduced to it before? Well, we try to get it out there every year. At the start of every semester, we try to send out a mass email to faculty, staff, and students, just getting that information out there. Some of you might have seen it this past, at the start of this semester. But basically, you just have to think of an idea, a project, or a passion on campus that could use funding. So as long as it supports the U of M and its community in some form or fashion, you can utilize MomentUM to raise money. If students come to us, and we have had people apply before asking for tuition assistance, unfortunately at this time we don't do things like that. We don't raise money for personal causes. It does need to benefit the U of M community as a whole, which obviously registered student organizations falls under that. So you would need to ask yourself also, who would donate to this? You can't just necessarily think of, oh, well, yes, like this is a great idea for something that needs funding, but you also need to think, well, who's the audience of people that we're going to ask? Because we don't, as a site, MomentUM, we don't necessarily have a following of people that come to our site on a regular basis and just donate to whatever causes that they see fit. It's more on your end as the project leader to go out and search for those donors, or maybe you have alumni, family, friends that might be willing to donate. So that's kind of how it goes. And then from there, the peer-to-peer power of crowdfunding kind of takes over. And then after you've answered that question of who your audience is, all you have to do is just apply to use our platform on the MomentUM website, which, as I mentioned previously, is momentum.memphis.edu. And I'll put that in the chat too after this. And you can also just find our site through the main U of M page. If you just go to the search bar, you could type in MomentUM and find us easy enough there. Okay, so now I'll just talk briefly about the MomentUM timeline here. Just try to keep it relatively brief for you all, because it will be more elaborated on if you were to actually go through with the process or reach out to me if you are truly interested. So Marta, you can go ahead and just put the rest of them up underneath there for each of the, yeah, there we go. So first off, you would just apply. We have year-round application through our website. There's a little submit application tab up towards the top. And that you can apply any time of year, but we usually just do fall and spring cycles. So at the start of each fall semester, we really push to ask for applications. And then a couple weeks into the semester, we cut that off, select our groups, and move forward from there. But we also do that in the spring, same thing, and then ad hoc projects. So those are more for our larger scale projects that are a little more committed, or maybe might be want to do a year-round type campaign. Those we accept at any time, and those are more of just on a reach out basis, not so much of just an application basis. So from your application, as I said, if you're selected, you'll get an email confirmation stating such. Hopefully within a short amount of time after you've applied. Sometimes people apply during the summer for the fall semester, and so they won't hear back until September of whether or not they've been chosen to move forward. We try to do 5 to 10 MomentUM projects each fall and spring is how many we try to host. This semester in particular, we're hosting 5, and actually the projects go live starting next week. So be on the lookout for those. But yes, after your email or after your project gets selected, we'll host a one-on-one meeting with you and kind of go over the rest of the process with you and explain everything else. And if your project is denied, we also let you know why it was denied and give you feedback as to how you could maybe improve your application next time to guarantee that you would be selected. The quiet phase is the next stage in the Momentum timeline, the quiet, active, and stewardship phases. The quiet phase is a 4-week phase where project leaders get introduced to the Scale Funder platform as collaborators, which basically gives them admin access to build out their donation page, strategize offline with their team or their RSO or whoever might be helping them raise the funds, what their strategy is going to be moving forward in their plan for promoting via social media or soliciting via email or in person or hosting an event once those times hopefully come back to us. And also the time for them to build their project page, as I mentioned. There are weekly check-ins during this time, as well as with the active phase as we see and move on to that. There's also a 4-week phase traditionally, and this is where you're going to solicit your donors and your audience that we talked about earlier. You're going to promote your campaign via social media, via email, via text, anything you can communicate from. We definitely support that. And this is also where you're going to raise your money. And then we move on to the stewardship phase. So that's after the campaign has come to a close and your pages have been shut down and can no longer accept donations. This is the time to thank all your donors individually, do some just kind of post-campaign wrap-up. If you have made the decision to give out gifts for different donor levels, this is where you can fulfill those and also where you'll receive your funds at the end of the day. Alrighty, so that is basically everything there is to know about Momentum. If you have any specific questions, maybe regarding your RSO in particular, or maybe as a faculty or staff member, you're interested in raising money for a specific cause, feel free. You can either ask those now or you can send me an email. There's my email there along with Lajera Williams, who's the assistant manager in annual giving. She can also answer anything that you guys might need.
Jack, thank you so much. I did have the question, like, does Momentum charge the processing fee that sites like GoFundMe charge or no?
Right. So no, that's the short answer. That's
Okay.
why we really say that if you are a member of the U of M community, it is best to utilize us because we just do everything in-house through the foundation. So that is one prerequisite, is that before you don't have to have a university foundation account prior to applying to use Momentum, but during the quiet phase, if you don't have a university foundation account, we'll get you set up with one for your cause, and then all the money will be deposited into there from the site. And then during the stewardship phase, you just fill out the paperwork through them, and they're able to get you the funds to use.
Okay, great. And then I had another question about, so right now I know that most of the KWS scholarships are tied towards 4-year degree seeking students. At least that's how the gift agreements are written. And so we hypothetically have a Momentum project to create a scholarship for our 2-semester culinary essential certificate students.
Say that again. What was the question exactly?
So we have a 2-semester culinary essential certificate program, and it's brand new to the U of M. And right now, all of our scholarships at KWS are written for 4-year degree, or most of the gift agreements are for 4-year degree students. Could we create a Momentum to create a scholarship for our 2-semester students? They're just here for 2 semesters. But
yes, you could. But as far as establishing scholarships as well, that that, has to go, I believe, through the scholarship office, if I'm not mistaken, as far as making sure that those are established correctly on that end, that you're able to give the money to the students. But as far as hosting it, as long as it was handled and everything properly on the back end there, then we're happy to host something like that on MomentUM. Yes.
Awesome. If anyone else has questions, you can go ahead and put it in the chat, or you can unmute your mic and just ask away. And this is for Jack or if any of the RSO advisors who are present as well. Hey, Carol, could HSMAI possibly use MomentUM? Can you see them using this for their teddy bear campaign for Memphis advocacy?
I absolutely can see that. My question, I did have one, and it talked about thank yous and perks, right? That we would give.
Yes.
So if we say we raise $5,000, right? That's our target. And we say with every $250 donation, you get a teddy bear yourself. Can we buy that out of the 5,000 to give to that person?
That is a good question. I don't think I've ever had anybody ask that. Granted, I don't think so, at least from experience. You can always shoot me an email asking again, and I can introduce you to Lajera, and she can answer that for sure. But to my knowledge, we've never had anybody. We have had perks. So as far as giving a level, which I like that idea, giving the teddy bear, that's actually perfect. But I don't think you can use the money that you're raising to turn around and pay for the perks that you want to give out. I think you kind of have to have those established beforehand. But like I said, I could be wrong, and I'll be sure to double check with Lajera there if you send me an email.
Awesome.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Jack, this was fabulous. I just see so much potential in this. And I know I have given to staff campaigns, like for holiday gifts and parties and things like that, retirement parties through this as well. So I'm happy to see that the U of M continued using the platform. So students, faculty, staff, if you have any future ideas for Let's Talk topics, I'm all ears. Please go ahead and email me or give me a call. This is my Google Voice number. So some of you are, if I'm not at the office, this is how you can reach me. But literally, we're coming up with the ideas based on what we know our students want to hear and what they need to hear as well. So next month's topic is all going to be on academic advising. There's some new processes at U of M. So hopefully we'll get you all advised and ready to re-register for the spring 2021, because that's really important that you make that happen before you leave campus at the end of this semester. And so if there isn't anything else, thank you all for participating today. I will make this into a video and we'll share it. We do not put them on the KWS site yet. That's a work in progress. So thanks for all for being here today.